Okay. Are we in here?
Hello.
I don't know why we're not in the stream.
Oh,
You can hear our voices, but I don't know why it's not displaying.
yeah, I can see me, but I can't see you.
Can you? Let me see.
Myself.
This is weird. This hasn't done this, but see, this is the problem with going live.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't done this for me before. Okay, let me see here. Cam mic. Yeah. So you can see me on the big screen?
No, I can just see myself. I cannot see you. It just shows your cover photo.
Interesting. Oh, I know why. There we go.
I see you now.
Okay, let me just get this StreamYard layout thing here going.
Perfect.
If I can. Live with StreamYard. Apparently I can't. Background. Apparently no. Solo. Okay. Let me delete overlay. Okay, well. I might. Okay, well, there we go. I can't have my background, but that's all right. Anyways, pull up the comments here, put you on live. There we go. All right, back on track.
Perfect.
All right. So, why don't we start and talk a little bit about maybe your childhood and like how you got into animals and maybe reptiles specifically?
Okay, yeah. So basically, my mom has always been an animal lover. We've always had horses, birds, dogs. So everything furry and feathery we've had. And then I kind of developed an interest in playing with ponds and frogs. And oh, you disappeared. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just gonna make it so it's just you when you're talking.
Oh, got you. Okay. Yeah. So basically, my grandfather had a pond, and anytime I would visit him, I would be constantly in the pond catching frogs. He had some snapping turtles in there, and I just found it really fun. And then I used to watch Subumafu, and I think there was an episode where they brought an alligator on, and I was like, oh my god. And then I found out about Steve Irwin, and religiously I watched Steve Irwin. I was always interested in dinosaurs, like anything scaly, reptile. But here was my problem. My mom didn't like reptiles. She was okay with like toads and frogs and turtles, but she drew the line at like lizards and snakes. So I was never allowed anything like that.
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
So basically, eventually, I got really good grades in school. When I was in grade school, I have two turtles. So first reptiles were technically two red ear slider turtles named Tom and Jerry.
Nice.
And
Nice.
it kind of proceeded from there. Like I always wanted it, but I was never allowed. And then my dad, who my parents lived separately, so when I would go visit my dad, he got me a bearded dragon one weekend, and I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. He ended up selling the bearded dragon, but I think it embedded something deeper in me. And then when I moved out at like 16 with my boyfriend at the time, I went crazy with the bearded dragons. I had like 40 adults. Like I couldn't stop myself. I was like, I've been deprived of reptiles for so long.
So how old were you when you had like 40 bearded dragons then?
16, 17, I started getting. when I was about 16. And then the reason I sold out of bearded dragons is because I was moving to Alberta to follow a friend, and I could only
Right.
bring, because I don't even, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't even know if Reptile Express back, you know, I don't know, 7, 8 years, 8 years ago now, was even existing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Shipping them wasn't an option, so we just brought one in the truck with us. But I didn't know how to properly 40 bearded dragons
Yeah.
out there, so I was like, you know what? I think I'm just gonna downsize to just my.
So when you had like 40 bearded dragons, were you breeding them and stuff, or was it just like purely as a collection?
Yeah, I bred them. I sure tried a lot of trial and error. Like my
Mm-hmm.
first bunch of bearded dragons, they all died. Um,
Jeez.
yeah, so I hatched them out and they seemed fine, and then they got lethargic. Maybe it was something I did. I was really young at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a whole lot of knowledge. There certainly wasn't a whole lot of reptiles to join. I think there was like maybe a bearded dragon classified in Ontario, but other than
Yeah.
I didn't have any mentor, I didn't have any help. I was strictly doing it. I was buying these bearded dragons off Kijiji. I was doing it terribly. Care of them, I don't think the breeding aspect had it. I didn't know what I was,
Yeah.
so trial and error.
Well, I think like most people too, like they start off with just like, well, I think everyone starts off with buying on Craigslist. Like everyone's first, either pet store or Craigslist, I'd say, is
Yep.
people's first pet.
Yep.
And like it just goes from there. And like you eventually meet people on Craigslist and stuff that will just like take you off. And like, I think it's kind of the same for everybody with in terms of that. With the bearded dragons, like what happened with that first clutch that made them all die and stuff? Like, was it incubation and stuff, or?
Well, there was one that came out with like a really short front arm, and out of total, I think only 10 eggs successfully hatched. And I can't remember, but it was 20 something eggs that were laid. And a lot of them were either infertile or they just went moldy. So I was like, okay, I didn't even know how many. I was, oh my God, I should have done a lot more research. But like, I didn't even
It's okay. It's fine.
they had. I was just a kid wanting to breed these reptiles, and then all 10 babies ended up dying. There was only like 3 that wanted to eat and showed that they wanted to eat, so I was like syringing them a little bit of water, like just wetting their lips and stuff, and they would drink a little bit, but inevitably they just kind of failure to thrive. It could have been an incubation issue. I had raised little hatchlings before that I had purchased, and I never had an issue raising them, so I don't know. Just could have been.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when like you obviously that was your first clutch, but did you have like multiple clutches after that? Because you had 40 bearded dragons, so that's like obviously a lot.
After that trial and error clutch, I had probably between the 2 years, I probably had about like 22 successful clutches. So I think I had the 1 year, and then I had 11 or 12 following. So it wasn't bad. Like I was enjoying it, but it's a lot of work. Like in comparison to ball pythons, like bearded dragons are just the most work out of any reptile I've ever.
I agree. Like I had one bearded dragon,
Yeah,
and it was like a rescue type thing, and I rehomed him after like 6 months because it was just so much work. Like,
they poop every day. They just it's
well, it's not even the poop, but it is the poop, but like the veggies and the crickets and everything,
yeah.
and spending time with them, and like,
I'm pretty confident when I say that I believe, other than like the super delicate species, that bearded dragons are the most attention. Like they're forever to keep. Like
yeah,
taking care of them, they're the most work that I've experienced.
yeah. I would say of like the beginner animals, like I don't even know why bearded dragons honestly are considered beginner. Like
I agree. I
it's
so docile, but the thing is they're just they're like a dog in terms of
yeah,
work. Every day you need to do something to care for them. Whereas a ball python, I don't have to necessarily open their bin every single day. I can
yeah,
just make sure that they have water, clean out their water, feed them once a week, clean their spot clean, and then deep clean once or twice a month.
yeah,
It, it's simple. I enjoy it.
yeah. No, like ball pythons, I think are so easy. I mean, they're probably the easiest reptile. Like,
Yeah,
um, yeah, it's. But yeah, I agree. Like that's why I think like when you said 40 bearded dragons, I'm like that's like you because even like if you're making no money off that, especially like
oh god, I made no money because
yeah,
that you would think because the amount of clutches I had, but honestly, I made not
yeah,
based on like the amount that I put into closures, the lighting, and if you factor in the hydro to have, literally, I believe I had it was like 86 different balls we counted for the 40 because each bearded dragon had their own enclosure. And I had glass tanks. I didn't have any PVC stacks or anything. It was literally two bed glass enclosure, like glass enclosure. It was crazy, and it's done.
so your mom would let you have that? Were you,
But that
oh, okay,
my
okay,
friend when I lived
oh,
with
okay.
his parents. The whole reason we moved out to Alberta is because he followed his parents. I followed him. When
I see.
his parents were working out in Alberta, so we were like
Mhm.
sitting. So they didn't know. They knew they had a few reptiles, but they didn't
Mhm.
know the extent of the reptile horde.
They didn't know, no.
They now,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
All right, well that's yeah, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't even like yeah, I think I you told me a few times that you like had bearded dragons, but I didn't know that it was like to that extent. That's pretty insane.
yeah. That's kind of. I mean, other than I had sounds so. But when I was in grade school, I would go down to our local Windsor, Ontario, and I would catch the little baby snappers. Now this
Hmm.
when it was. I was told anyway when it was legal because people would hunt them all the time to eat them,
Hmm.
like literally for turtles. But now they're protected.
Hmm.
You can't
What
eat them anymore.
where like where in Windsor was that?
Oh,
Because my granny lives in Windsor, so it's just kind of interesting.
Ojibwe Park.
Chipway Park.
Yeah,
Never
it's
heard of it. Oh,
a cool place. I mean, if anyone here is from Windsor or from my area, I would
yeah,
recommend check out that park because it's really nice. Or at least it
interesting.
was when I was a kid. It's been a little while since I've been there, but lots of trails,
Yeah, sounds like they have snappers there, obviously.
tons, tons of frogs,
Interesting.
snakes, tons of everything. Really,
Cool. Okay, so after the bearded dragons, you kept one of them. You said.
yes, but like if I'm gonna backtrack a little bit here,
Okay.
I had my bearded dragons. I had Vanna monitor as well, and
Uh,
I I actually snuck in a ball python because my boyfriend's parents at the time said no to snakes. They were fine with lizards, so I was not get a snake whenever I wanted. So I was like, come on, like my you know,
yeah.
his parents said no, so I snuck one in the closet, and his name was Hercules. And
Don't you still have that one?
I don't anymore.
Or no? Yeah.
I did receive him back though. Was it
Interesting.
last year?
Hmm.
Maybe the following year? Because I had given him to my dad's best friend, and he had him all this time. Like God, like 7 years or something.
Jeez.
He ended up giving him back to me last year, and I gave him to a girl for her first ball python. So
Nice.
I was just like, I don't really know what I should do with a male. So I was
Yeah.
like, someone else can join the love and the hobby if I gave him this male that started my love for ball pythons.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I think I don't know if you just posted about him or something, but I think I recently saw it somewhere. It might be someone else, but
I think you're thinking of Mars, but she did message to post Hercules. Mars just posted her first snake.
oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking of then.
Yeah,
Yeah, probably. Okay. Well, anyways, they're both normal, so they look the same. So
Hercules, and I'm like,
yeah,
because that,
yeah, yeah. Well, that's a like. There's so many like morphs or like whatever that are out there, and they're like all the same. Like there's or so many of them are named the same name because it's like
yeah.
one color. You know. Anyways, okay. So when you moved to Ontario, you moved there because you followed your boyfriend or for horse breeding?
So I'm just,
You don't have to answer like about like your relationship if you don't want to, but
I'm completely fine. Like, so basically, he was going to be moving out to Alberta to follow like the oil field with his parents. Like his parents like had messaged him and was like, "Hey, the oil field's booming. There's lots of work. You'll make lots of money. You'll be able to save up for a house, all that." So he decided on a whim, without telling me,
hmm.
flying to Alberta in 3 days. I didn't have a license. I was stuck by myself. So I had to figure out how to care for 5 horses because I had 5 horses on that property at the same time. So I had 40 bearded dragons, Savannah monitor, fish. I had fish tank. Like I went crazy with the animals. I had like 5 horses. I was training horses. So basically, it was kind of like move back into or follow him because so that's basically what was happening there. So I ended up following him out with 2 of my horses and 1 bearded dragon. So that's kind of how that happened. He just went for work and I just kind of had no choice but to follow, otherwise I would lose my horses and stuff and I that wasn't an option. So
So then like where'd your beauty? Did you have more horses than two at the time?
I had before I moved, I had 5. So I had to because it was very expensive to bring the horses. It was like
Yeah.
$1,800 to haul both out there
Nice.
for me, and that wasn't even including like first and last for my boarding out there and stuff like that. So I was like, realistically, I can't afford to bring all 5. So I ended up selling 3, and I kept my main 2.
Okay, makes sense. And like obviously you sold your bearded dragons, just rehome them or whatever on
Yeah,
Craigslist and stuff.
yeah.
Okay,
I went out 3 weeks after I did.
makes
So
sense.
I held down the fort with the animals in the house and stuff, and then I had followed him out.
Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, that's like such a bummer. It's like that's like the worst case scenario, like honestly, for animals. Like
Yeah,
uh,
it's not fun, but to be
yeah.
honest, I think that it really jump started my life in a better way. Because I don't think that I would have went anywhere if I would just because I was drown like realistically I was drowning myself with how
Mm-hmm.
reptiles because I wasn't making any money.
Mm-hmm.
The horses off the I was basically breaking even on everything and I was like this isn't getting me anywhere. So I think
Yeah,
it's a good kickstart for me to get my life together. So
makes sense. Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
don't
makes sense. Well, and like yeah, like bearded dragons. Like I see some breeders who are breeding like hundreds of them, and it's like I don't know
God
like
it's
how.
work.
Yeah,
So I don't know what it is, but it's just like it sticks more than you would think that glass would be easier to clean, but it like dry with the heat lamp, it dries. So by the time you see it, like the day of or the next day, it's like, oh, great.
I, yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay. Um, So then, when you moved out to Alberta, like you just obviously went out there pretty much like on a whim, not really your choice.
Yeah.
What did you like? What were you doing for work at the time, or like, did you have anything lined up? And like, how'd you get into horse breeding, basically?
I did not have anything lined up. I didn't even know where I was going to live. I was just following him. I was like, what you're going to do is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to figure it out when I get there. It was completely just, we moved into a bedroom, and that was kind of the life for a little bit. And then I developed a lot of connections where I was keeping my horses. So they were like, oh, we noticed that your horses are really well behaved. Who trained them? That's kind of how the conversation got started. And I said, well, I did. I've worked with these horses since, for years, because I had them even at my mother's, these
Mhm.
particular two. So I've had them, I think it was like 9 years at that point, or something like that. And
Jeez.
there was a lady who was boarding her daughter's horses there just so they could ride, but she had a separate farm of like 50. So
Okay.
would bring in a couple horses at a time for me to work with. And then there was a few people boarding there that paid me to work with their horses. And then word got out, and I started bringing in a lot of cash from that. And then I would go do barrel racing, and I would do clinics about how to train and stuff like that, and how to trailer your horse, get them on the trailer. So I would make money from clinics and teaching things like that. And kind of
Okay.
word of mouth kind of rolled, and
So, like, how did you learn to train then? Like, as a kid, did you go through any like classes or anything, or was it just like through your animals, just like learning hands on?
a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
My mother, so the reason I love horses so much is because when I was born, we had horses. So I basically was born into the horse life, and I got my first pony at like 2 years old. And I think just watching her work with the horses, because she would rescue and then train and then rehome. That was kind of like her thing. She wanted to,
Mhm.
from auctions, going to slaughter and stuff, train them up so that they could find good families, and then she would sell. That horse would have another chance at life. And that's what I wanted to do really bad. Like, so I basically just started following her, asking advice. We knew a lot of people around the community, like you obviously wouldn't know them, but like Bob Barnier, Terry Jenkins. She's the leader of Canadian Cowgirls, you know. So I know them
Yeah.
personally. So I learned from a lot of people, but I didn't necessarily take lessons. It was just kind of like I just kind of listened and watched.
Yeah, more like a mentorship type thing.
Yeah, whenever I had the chance, or like if I had a question, I would be able to like message them or text them or call them and be like, hey, what should I do? And a lot of it myself was just trial and error. Like, okay, that didn't work. Let's try something different. Basically, is what
Right.
I started doing.
Okay. And then, like, when you went to Alberta and started doing all this, like, was I guess like it was all training, obviously,
Yeah.
was your job. But was that like a job through this place you were at, like boarding your horses, or was that like you
Um.
had your own business, kind of?
No. So basically, the main cash flow for me, to be completely honest with you, was housekeeping. I was
Mm,
working at hotels cleaning and stuff, and there was just, you know, there was a guy down there with a Palomino horse, and he was paying me to work with it so his daughter can ride it and stuff like that.
mm,
So, and then he got another horse, and then he wanted to train me to basically make his kid ride this horse too. And then I was doing
right,
lessons with kids and stuff. So I was just kind of like wheeling and dealing everything. I didn't really have a
right.
thing like a 9 to 5 other than my housekeeping.
Yeah.
Everything else was sporadic. Sometimes I wouldn't have anything to do, and then sometimes I would have too much to do. So,
Okay. So you had like a 9 to 5 house cleaning, and then this was like on the side as like just kind of like your
yeah,
like reptiles kind of is pretty much
basically, yeah.
for a lot of people. Okay. Okay. And then did you get into like breeding at all when you were there?
So, I haven't really bred too many horses. My mom has in the past. We've had foals, like, but those mostly came from like buying a pregnant mare or a mare and foal at the auction. So I have raised babies. I've never actually been there with a full being board and stuff. I would
Right.
love to. I would love to breed my mares, but majority of our horses have been geldings. It's ironic,
Okay.
mares right now, but you know, so mainly boy horses we've had.
Right. Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then your horse now. Like you move. So when did you move back from Alberta?
Um, when did I move back? Was it 2017? No, it was 2016. I think I moved back. Um, and I moved back in with my mom because we didn't really have anywhere to go. The
Right.
oil field was starting to plummet, and it was just there wasn't a whole lot of work, and I was missing home. I was missing my mom. I had had my first daughter at that point because I had my daughter out in Alberta, and I was like, you know, I think I want to go home to my mom. And so basically, we moved home. It was his turn to follow me, and
Right.
um, so we moved in with my mom, and we rented out her basement for a while. And then I wasn't able to do the snakes again because she was afraid. There's no way there was ever going to be a snake under her roof. But I had been researching ball pythons a lot, like morphs and stuff. This is when I started developing my interests, is when I came home.
Right.
Then in 2017, we got our own place and we started collecting the ball pythons. My first one of this collection being my Phantom Firefly.
Okay.
My good friend Tyler Latteroot is the one who kind of nudged me into it. So, and then it just kind of went from
Okay. Cool. And so, like, I guess when you came back, you didn't have any reptiles at all.
No, I sold my bearded dragon out there because
Okay.
time with everything, and
Right.
I was losing interest in the bearded dragons. To be completely honest with you, I felt like it was a lot of work. I didn't really have time for it. I just felt bad. I was kind of focused on the horses at that time, and then I had my daughter, so I was like, you know what? I don't feel this is fair for the animal because my interest is not there. So he ended
Yeah.
someone in Edmonton. It was a really great home. So I was content with it, you know. I wasn't
Right.
sad, I guess. I think I was more relieved that he had a better home. That
Makes sense.
get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And the horses that you brought to Alberta, they came back.
They did.
Okay.
My
So
cat
you still have them?
unfortunately no. So about 2018, 2017,
Oh yeah.
something like that. Sorry, the timelines are kind of fuzzy, but
One
basically
passed away.
after we got our own apartment, it was not feasible for me to board both my horses at the time. We were just getting back on our feet from, moving with my mom and stuff like that. It was a big move and it was expensive. And because the oil field had kind of crashed, we didn't have a whole lot of money to work with. So basically paying, I think it was 350 a horse for board wasn't really smart. So what I did, I had a friend out past Toronto and she needed lesson horses. So I said to her, I'm like, hey, I don't really want to sell horses, but if you want to take them for free, you can use them for your lesson horses. And then I just get them back in a year or two. So basically, you get free lesson horses. I can't afford to keep them right now. So that's what we did. And then one of her lesson students ended up falling in love with my gelding.
Hmm.
They had talked me into buying him, so I sold him. And then my mare, I just sold in the summer of 2018.
Okay.
When she came back after the year lease, I just couldn't afford
Too much. Yeah.
it. So I just basically I sold her, and then I just now am comfortable and can get back to my roots with the horses. So that's
Right.
why this horse.
So with the horses, you have just one horse right now, then.
I actually have two. Uh,
Okay.
technically, one is my daughter's, if you want to kind of
Okay.
pull, but So we have two paint horses. Hidalgo is my horse, who I've posted on my page multiple times. And then my daughter has a horse named Disney.
Okay. Cool names.
Disney's just recent. We got her in October.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I might have remembered you posting something, but I don't know. I don't know. There's so much that gets posted that like So okay, and then so when you came back, you got a ball python, the Firefly Phantom.
Yep.
Um, from that point to like your next snake, was it like right away? Was it like how long?
Okay, so basically, when I was looking at my Phantom Firefly, I was looking at several snakes. And I had really liked dark jeans already. Like, so I really liked Phantom. So my friend had a Karma, which is a Phantom butter. And she was also possible cinnamon, I want to say cinnamon enchi or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. But she was
Okay.
by Wilma Rose. So I was like, I didn't know who Wilma Rose was at the time. I'm like, who's this guy? What is that? Why does that matter to me? Who produced her? Now I
Mm-hmm.
know that, he's a pretty big deal. So I ended up buying Taka because she was $150. And I was like, I'm not going to pass up a Phantom Firefly female for $150. That's
You're
obvious.
insane. Yeah.
So I got her, and then literally like a week later, a week or two, I got Karma, which was my white snake. And then I was like, oh, well, now I have two females. I'm going to need a male. So I went and I bought a Phantom Pastel Vanilla male from Nagy Reptiles. They have boas and a few ball pythons and stuff. More well known for their boas. So then I had three. And then I bought the infamous Jar of Dirt because
Right.
she's so cool. I was like, oh my God. I saw one picture of her and I messaged him. I said, put my name on the bin. She sold. And like, that was kind of then it just.
And so jar of dirt, that would have been like your sixth or seventh snake.
I think she was my fourth, if I'm
Or
remembering
fourth.
her correctly. It was my Phantom Firefly, my Karma, my Phantom Male, and then her.
So you really looked at that on your fourth snake and in that. Wow. And like for anyone who doesn't know in the comments, do you mind telling what she was?
She was Calibi, so she was Calico, Pastel, and Spider. Um, you know, Unfortunately, she has passed away.
Yep.
Basically, we're not even sure what really happened. She just stopped eating one day, which I found was odd because she was really I actually got her and she was finicky, and the breeder told me, hey, she's a little bit finicky. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And then I got her going great for about a year, I want to say. And then she started developing like swelling in her abdomen whenever she would eat, and then eventually she would stop eating. It was like she was like gassy or bloated and couldn't release it. So,
Hmm.
she went to Billy Rose to get checked out and see if he could help her getting back on the food. And she went to the vets, and then she went to Jim, who runs Black Dragons Canada, and no one could really help her. We didn't really know what was going on. No one knew, and then unfortunately she ended up passing away randomly. But
Yeah. Yeah, because I think I was following you a little bit before she passed away because I remember when she passed away. I remember you posting about it, and it was
yeah,
pretty sad. Everybody was like, "Yeah,
I think a lot of people kind of, when a girl has a successful account, they just assume, well, you're a girl,
mm-hmm.
whatever. That's what you use to get views. I actually can pretty much safely say that Jar of Dirt got me at least majority of my follows because a couple of her photos had went viral in the snake world on Instagram, and I just like the followers and the likes just. I think like her one post got like, God, 4,800 likes, and that was like before I had a whole crap ton of followers. It was like,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
insane."
every time I would post her, that's like so popular. Like everyone was. love with her.
So okay, so when did you? Okay, so I guess we're at jar of dirt on the timeline of your ball pythons. But like, how long from jar of dirt did it take you to get to like 10 snakes? I'd say like quickly, probably.
Probably less than a few months. Like I after
Okay.
like I was probably buying 3 or 4 snakes a month, and and I was at first when I first got Jar of Dirt, I still had mentors. So, my buddy Tyler Latteroot and no one probably on here would know him because he doesn't even have Facebook, let alone Instagram. But my buddy named Sean, who's just a very private, secluded breeder who kind of helped me. And not many people will know him now because he's not so popular because he's out of the game. But Jesse Wilson, um, Jesse Wilson was, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he actually brought lavender into Canada.
Wow.
So I believe I'm right on that. I believe he was the first to bring lavender in on Canada. And basically, if you have an albino or a lavender, more than likely it originated from Jesse, his lines in Canada. So,
Interesting.
yeah, he took over the albino game.
Yeah. Well, like it's just kind of interesting, like how some of these snakes have just been like imported to Canada, like one single gene, and like that gene just like spread from that one collection all over, like you
Yeah.
know, like
Oh,
even like I was thinking earlier today, like even like I have, well, it's not really your snake, but the banana pie I got from you, like
yeah.
it's right next to me, and like it came across Canada, you know.
Cool. And she's a really nice snake. I like her. I
Uh,
didn't know what to do with her, and plus my horse was coming, and I was like,
uh,
this is just not a great month for me. So
yeah, fair enough. Well, I like that because I really love banana pie, and I'm working on super banana pie project, so
I feel
we'll
like,
see.
see, I didn't have a plan for her, and I think that's ultimately what made my decision. Whereas I feel like you would enjoy her more. So it didn't it I wasn't remorseful selling her. Like of course I could think down the line and be like, oh, she would be really handy here. But I don't have a vision. I didn't have a vision for her. And basically if I don't have a vision for a specific snake in my projects now, I'm just at the point where I'll just find something else that I do.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I mean, that's why when you buy a snake, you should have a vision. Obviously, like that's why you sold the snake. But um,
And like
I think
vision
that
time too, right? So
yeah,
for example, when I first got into it, I really liked lavender because friends all like lavender. All my mentor, like all of them had lavenders, and that was like their weakness, kryptonite, whatever. And
yeah,
so I kind of jumped on the bandwagon, and I guess I didn't really enjoy it that much. I was like, kind of like, I like the dark palette. This is really doing it for me more. So I had like a lot of lavender stuff that I sold to a guy in BC, Mike Banford. I don't know if you've dealt with him, but he's
no,
a really nice guy. He's up and coming. He's invested quite a bit of money into it, and so I don't know. I just kind of cleansed my collection of the lavender and the albino stuff. I was just like, you know what? I like dark. I'm gonna majority stick to dark, and I think I've stayed true to that since then. So
yeah. See, and like for me, like I have well, I was sold it as a toffino, but I think it's just a toffee, and an albino, and I have like no plan for them, and like I just want to sell them. Like I feel the same as you about albino. Like it's just
yeah,
I
and
don't
I
know.
know a lot of people say it's a bad thing to like sell your animals and whatever, and I think that your job is to make sure that those animals have a good home, right? Like whether that's with you or the person you sell to, I think that's your responsibility. It's not your responsibility to, keep every animal that comes across in your path. I think that it's a to rehome and sell pets if it's not working out, like snakes specifically is what I'm talking about. But if they're not working for your project, there's someone who's going to adore them and just be over the moon for their project. So if I'm not excited about an animal, I actually feel bad because I feel like it's not fair to the animal. Whereas there's someone who could buy it that would be ecstatic about it. So I think
Yeah.
I just like that. So like the banana pie, I thought she was amazing. Like she's an amazing animal. But I think that you would enjoy it more than I would at this time.
Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, I don't. I'm not saying I feel this way, but there's other people out there who would say that like animals are just commodities too. So there's the other side of it too, where it's like the some people just feel like these are it's just like inventory for them, and like somewhat it is like especially when you have hatchlings like a little bit, but I think like that's why I don't like. I know I posted on Instagram about raffles and stuff, but
Yeah.
that's why I don't like them because it's like you're treating it like a lottery ticket or something, like.
Like I name all my animals. Like all of
Mhm.
that are I'm keeping, they all have names. Even out of the egg, like they had their first shed and my holdbacks, they have names. I think that's just what keeps me connected with them being animals of just, you know, like
Things.
I just feel like if I just label like I understand that a lot of people have too many animals to give them all names. So like
Yeah.
that, like I'm sure that Billy would be there for days and run out of names. But like it's more for me because I want to stay smaller scale.
Right.
I enjoy having that. I obviously it's one sided because they're snake, but like that connection to my animals, like
Hmm.
for me to my snakes, obviously it's
Hmm.
reciprocated, but I'm just
Yeah.
I just enjoy that I can feel that way about my snakes that I love them enough to do that.
For sure.
Also,
Yeah.
I have snakes that there's a that's probably never going to produce for me. Just, I have a feeling that they're just one's 6 years old and she still hasn't laid eggs. So I'm just kind of like, you know what? You can be my pet. You've earned it in my heart. You can stay. So
Hmm.
I guess I don't know. I'm a sucker for them.
Hmm. Well, like for me too, like there's me and my girlfriend's two first snakes that we got. It's a normal and a super pastel male, and like we have thought about getting rid of them and stuff, but we just can't bring ourselves to it because like these are our first animals, and like,
You get attached, right? Like
oh yeah, for sure,
hated because I love
yeah,
my but she would love to be. Not been
yeah,
my other one, Crikey. She
mm,
constantly like my pen or like toys to get out like sheds and stuff if it's just a spot clean because she will bite my finger and wrap it and not let go for like an hour. So well, I don't like using the tongs as much anymore because it's metal. So I'm like I don't want to hurt her teeth. So I use like a soft pen.
yeah,
It'll hurt her teeth less. But it's inevitable that she's going to bite.
yeah. Well, there was like I know you posted on Instagram, but I don't know if you posted on TikTok or not. But there was an Instagram reel of her biting that, I think, right?
I did post it on Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was funny. It's always funny bit. Like I've done that too, where you get bit and you take an Instagram video of it because you're like, this is gonna get views. Anyways. Oh shit, my headphones died. Okay, I had Bluetooth headphones, so I was using those, but obviously they died, so can't use them anymore. That's all right.
I don't even headphones.
Well, sometimes I know that sometimes like in the background that you get like
Like
like an echo. Yeah. So if it gets annoying, just tell me, and I can turn the sound down.
I don't hear anything right now. I have
Sweet. Okay. Okay. So then, when did you start your Instagram account, and how did you get the name for it?
I believe I think I got I think I only had snakes at the time. Started out really corny. I think I just one of those people that posted their pets.
Yeah.
um I would say probably 2017, maybe early 2018 I started my account. You could probably like if I scrolled back and like I looked at the dates, probably be then. The My Kryptonite. A lot of people can be confused on this name. The whole reason I did it is because the snakes became my weakness very quickly. Like I couldn't resist anything. Like I couldn't resist temptation, and I was thinking for like ever. I was, what can I name this that isn't? I'm like, what is like? I don't want to name it like something ball like that.
Mariah's ball.
Yeah, like I don't know. I wasn't
Yeah.
like I like Cascade critters a lot. That's a good one.
I like honestly, like I don't even know how we came up. Well, we were driving back from somewhere and we saw Cascade like law or something on a sign because we were
Huh?
trying to come up with a name, and I saw that on there, and we were like, what could we do like with like because we were thinking Cascade. So I think I forget what exactly we were going through, but we were trying to come up with like different Cascade things, names that like rhyme and stuff,
I will.
and
It's unique. Very.
yeah, yeah, and like it just came up. Like I was like Cascade Critters, and it just like it flows really well. Everybody can spell it,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, I thought your name like maybe had because I didn't know the story behind it at all,
Yeah.
and like I thought it maybe had something to do with your name because like the my is kind of a little bit
Yeah.
in the spelling of your name, you know?
Yeah. At first, I was honestly thinking about Tailor Made because my last name is Taylor, so I was like, oh, maybe like Tailor Made balls. But I was like, that's stupid. At the same time, sorry if anyone has that name, but I just not for me. It wasn't. I really liked the rustic fields. Like I wanted rustic stickers and stuff like that. So I was like, what is something that would go with that hand in hand?
Yeah,
And I think the My Kryptonite just came from exactly that. Like I'm making your weakness. Like if you like GHI, my animals are going to be your kryptonite.
yeah,
Able to resist it. So I think that's kind of what came about it. And I've ruined the kryptonite song for so many people because like my friend Nathan, he's like, oh, kryptonite just came on the radio and all like you ruined the song because all I can think about is you. And I've done my job.
yeah. Well, it like I think it is a catchy name, and it has like somewhat of like not a rhyme to it, obviously, but like a ring to it.
Yeah.
So it's a good name. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like it.
I kind of liked it, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna name it something that I really enjoy, and it makes sense for me. And I said, if I have to explain it a few times, that's fine. A few people have gotten it, but I just and then the unlock the potential came after because I started taking pictures with a little key decor that I had, and I just liked the key at the time. It had nothing to do with the ball pythons. I was just like, oh, this is the best lighting, and the key
Right.
kind of cool behind it. So I just kind of started taking my this, and the key just kind of became a thing. And then I was like, kind of like a catchy slogan. And
Mm-hmm.
at first, it was, God, I can't even remember what it was. It doesn't matter, but
It wasn't that good if you can't even remember it.
it doesn't even matter. But basically, the unlock came about in like this year. I think, the end of 2019, 2020, something.
Okay.
So that was just recent. And it was just because the key thing just started to stick, and I was like, oh, this key thing has kind of gotten popular. So I was like, maybe I could do like stickers with the key, and I'm commissioning Mars to do a logo with my key.
Oh, cool.
I'm really excited about that, and
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be.
Well, like, and even with the key thing, like when you started doing that, because I remember when you started doing that, I'm like, this is kind of interesting. Like nobody's really doing that. It's kind of different and
Yeah,
unique. So it's definitely like when you can do that on social media and like stand out like that. It's I
yeah.
don't know if it really makes a difference or not. I don't know if you've gained followers because of that, but
So ever since I moved to this place, because I was living in Strathroy, and
okay,
recently I think I moved November 2018, 2019.
And okay, and now you're living in
Chatham.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I moved here, the lighting in the house was actually really bad here. Like I did change the light bulbs and stuff. It's just very dim and dark. And I think I got really discouraged by because I wasn't happy with the quality of photos coming out because they just had that like yellowy hue. They didn't really look that bright. They didn't look clean. So I think I stopped posting every day and I actually kind of like halted my followers, which is my fault. It's completely my fault because if I had kept on it every single day, I probably would be a lot farther. I think I just
Mhm.
lost a lot of inspiration when my pictures weren't exactly what I wanted them to be.
Yeah. Well, I know what you mean by that because like even for me, I like to do like uh, a photo shoot for like each like month or whatever or like season, and then like when that season's over, it's like okay, great, I have no more photos to post, and now like right now it's like what season are we really in? Like I don't really have a theme, you
Val-
know? Huh?
Valentine's,
Well, yeah, but that's like
yeah,
it's February still
soon, soon enough.
soon.
Yeah, I feel exactly that way. I really should start posting again. I'm just not happy with the lighting. I want to get one of those ring lights. Like maybe that would help if I like put it
Well,
just
do you
like.
see the light I have in the back?
Oh yeah, that's
It's similar to what I use for, well, it's the same light that I use for all my photos. It's just like a different setup.
and your photos are really nice and light. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I just like have like a melamine board and then I just have that light above it and that's how I take all my photos. It's just
Oh, that's smart. Maybe I should like hang a light above my TV.
like I think people overthink the lighting thing sometimes and mean like, oh, I need to get a ring light or I need to go get this like Instagram approved lighting.
Yeah,
Like if you go to the hardware store and just get like an LED work light,
true.
like that thing is like way brighter than any ring light you'll buy.
That's true. That's yep.
So,
Fair enough. Completely fair enough.
but
I want
anyway,
right. My basement's so dingy. Like it's a basement,
yeah,
and like I don't know. My upstairs is just it creates a lot of shadows because just the way the walls are and where the windows are. It's just there's too many shadows and it drives me nuts.
yeah. Well, I don't, because I remember talking to you about that about your lighting. I don't know if I messaged you and was like, "Are you okay?" Because you're not posting or something. I don't know if I
I
messaged you
did.
or
There was a few people that you probably were one of them. There was a few people that were like, "Hey, you okay?" I'm like, "I'm okay. I'm just not inspired. I just like
yeah,
I miss my I love this place, don't get me wrong. Like the space here is great. It's 3 bedrooms. My snakes have an entire basement.
nice.
So I just miss my lighting.
Yeah. I know what I mean.
That back cuz I don't think I ever would have stopped posting. But
Yeah, I see what I mean. Yeah, because even like I see your posts like pretty often, but I don't think you're posting as much as you once were. Like,
oh, I think I was posting daily. Or
oh, definitely.
and then now I think I maybe post. Oh God, I don't even think I've posted the last week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like that's the thing. I feel the same. Like the last week, I haven't. I think I did like 2 posts maybe,
Yeah,
and it's just like I feel uninspired, and like it's just like
yeah,
it's it's
the exact same way. I'm just like, it is what it is at this point. I'll get back into it. I think once I get my lighting situated, then I would feel a lot better.
yeah. Well, get a light box or I don't know, figure something out.
Yeah,
We want more content. People want more content. Okay. So you're working on a hypo clown project, right?
I am.
So like, uh, what animals do you have that are like growing up and are in that project, and like where do you kind of want to see that go?
So, I didn't hold a lot of animals back because sex ratio was bad. I had so many males, and like, I guess when I was pairing, I was just hoping that I would get a lot of female holdbacks. But
Hmm.
like, I paired males, and I didn't realize what I had done, but all of them are in the bell complex. Except one. Excuse me. Except one. One was a yellow belly, citrus pastel yellow belly female. She was the only female that wasn't in excluding hybrids, but the Bell complex. Um, so I have yellow belly double het females that I held back. Out of my GHI clutch, I only hit one female, and that was a GHI Mojave double het, which was my favorite thing that I've made this year, I'm pretty sure. And so I held back.
That's
I
double het clown hypo.
Yep, GHI
Jeez.
Mojave double het hypo clown.
If you ever want to sell one of those females, let me know because I need that for my project. I'm like looking for that snake.
Yeah, I might.
Although if it was visual hypo, then that would be even better. But
I'm pretty sure I'm going to repeat that pairing. So I can, be you in the loop. I mean, I didn't like the sex, but I did like the outcome of it.
yeah,
Even if one more of those females, I think the entire pairing is worth it for me. It was just simple. PH hobby to hypo clown, and I'm just guaranteed everything to be double het. So
yeah. Although that's like you have a hypo clown male.
yeah, I
Yeah,
do.
that's an expensive project to hop onto though. I'm sure
Yeah,
that didn't come cheap. That
I actually traded. I can tell you because I have no shame talking about price. Actually, so I had a female that I had traded for my first holdback. So my very first clutch, I had made a female pastel phantom vanilla female, and so my buddy, I can't even remember what she was. Right, I think it was like a lesser pet red exanthic something female. So I ended up swapping them, and then the hypo clown male had come up for sale, and he was for sale for a little while, and my buddy had him. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna offer $1,000 female. So I ended up giving $1,000 and the I think it was like a lesser het red exanthic. God, I can't remember the other mahogany. That's what it was. So
yeah.
he got a lesser mahogany female and $1,000, and that's when I got my full plan. No,
That's a killer deal for you, I think.
no regrets. So
No.
I'm content with it. Happy with. Loves the female. I'm sure he loved $1,000. So
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I think both of us were comfortable with it because he wasn't using.
For sure.
Didn't really have any
Yeah.
for the project. I don't think his interest was there much. So
Still though, that's like I don't know, to get a hypo clown, that's a lot of work to put in to get that. Like
it is. It is for sure. And
that's an insane snake, so
the reptile ward and I have joint pairing. Now, mind you, my male's been kind of a butthead and not really wanting to pair to her yet, but I think she's a yellow belly, or sorry, she's an orange dream, possible Enchi or yellow belly, something like that. I have to look at her bin. At hypo. So we want to see if she'll prove out the secondary. Either way, we're going to get orange dream, potentially visual hypos, het clowns. So an orange dream hypo het clown would be great.
yeah.
Yeah. So even an orange double het would be great.
Well, I mean, you get one of those and you breed it back to the hypo clown male, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's your idea, but
Yeah.
nice.
But then down the road, I don't mind raising my hets. So if I can have my, then come 4 years, let's say conservatively, I have a bunch of hypo clown stuff born.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
It's all. I mean, like double recessive are just. It's such a long term thing.
Oh, for sure.
Like I'm trying. I'm trying to decide right now if I want to do a double recessive with my albino. Like I'm thinking albino clown, but
That's cool. Yeah.
I just I don't think I'm gonna do it because it's just too much work and like I don't know, not worth it.
Of work. Um. Trying to think what it was. It'll come to me. It was albino something that I saw was really cool.
Was it Sundale reptiles?
Uh. Oh yeah, Nathan. Yeah,
Yeah, it was a
black
black blackhead
guy.
GHI
No,
albino. I was gonna buy one of those maybe, but I don't know.
I know that Nathan always sets up killer deals. That's how I ended up with one of his snakes.
Yeah, he's already offered me some. He's like, "How about this?" And I'm like, "Maybe."
I know he's so bad influence. I need to stop talking to him.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I'm like between you and Mariah, like I'm gonna go broke. Like literally. Like,
Hey, I put a gun to your head.
no, you didn't. But
I know exactly how you feel because all my friends, Matt Pistone, I don't know if you know him. He's from the Toronto area. He's always
does
got
he
like,
have an Instagram?
yeah, he's got. I don't think he's posts a whole lot of snakes though.
Oh, I think where I his name sounds familiar, but I think he's come up in my Facebook friend recommendations,
Yeah.
which is weird.
So
Well, it's because of you, probably.
the worst. He's got like amazing animals, and he's always got great deals and like great guy to deal with. But he'll like message me and just temptation out the wazoo. I'm just like, you need to stop. I'm gonna block you.
Yeah.
Sending me lists. I think the other day he sent me a GHI pied or something, and I was like, you need to
Yeah. That's a nice
get
thing.
out of here.
That's funny.
He would make me broke. What like
Yeah.
just with stone alone, I would just go broke. Is
Well,
it?
that's it. Like it's so easy to not have control with this, you know,
Yeah,
like it's such a thing where it can just take over so quickly. Like I'm sure that's how you probably felt with the bearded dragons.
yeah. It was overwhelming, and then there's always people that you see. Oh, $50, come get him, and he's looking lethargic in the picture, and I just felt compelled to go and get him, and
Yeah.
kind of ultimately how I ended up with so many. There was a few that I got for strictly breeding purposes that were like leatherbacks and citrus, and
But there was nothing there, like obviously other than those few, but like it was probably about 30 like normal bearded dragons, you'd say? Or
probably.
so? Okay.
I, there wasn't a whole. I mean, there was, but not available, readily available. Crazy
True.
at that point in time, and like so, back when it was like $400, and
Jeez.
which was all brave at that point. People realized like, probably shouldn't make silk back dress.
Yeah.
I think the one I had bought was like $600, and it was a beautiful male, and I was in love with him. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I was like, I finally got a silky, and then everyone came like crashing down on everyone's brain was like, hey, it's immoral to breed silkies and stuff, and I was like, well, I didn't know that when I bought them.
Yeah.
This is kind of bullshit. Like,
Uh,
but I was like, okay, I feel you. He's a lot of work. I had to like put the lotion on the skin all the time. I'm like,
yeah.
God.
Too much work. But it's just like another thing added to the bearded dragon list every day.
Work. I'm like, I love you. You're like, I still have a fond love for bearded dragons, and if it happened to help, I probably would be a sucker to take one, but I try to avoid it.
Yeah. Well, it's just like I can't even imagine like how much work was that every day? Like how many hours?
Oh God, I think
I don't think I don't want you to like think about this because it's probably traumatizing to
I
you, but
it would have taken me all day. Like realistically, like um
I get yeah, like probably you weren't able to care for them as good as you wanted to.
no, and I think that's what's happening to
Yeah.
me. Like my care lacking. I'm not even like at the time too much. It was overwhelming. I just went too hard, too fast, and I definitely take that as a lesson even now. Like if I'm
Yeah.
feeling overwhelmed, I will sell snakes. If I don't feel that way so much right now because I think snakes are really easy, but I felt overwhelmed. I would definitely downsize.
Hmm.
And I think that's a healthy thing to do is to realize your boundaries. Otherwise, you're gonna suffer anyway. Like people can say, oh, it's immoral to sell your pets and stuff, but at the same time, if their care is going to be better somewhere else, then maybe you're doing the right thing by sending someone who has the time, or doesn't have as much going on in their life and can properly.
And I think it really depends on the animal too. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, like reptiles are one thing because they don't really have any understanding on like where they are and stuff. Like, but like a
yeah,
dog's gonna sit at a shelter and be like, "Where's my owner?"
yeah,
Which,
yeah. Basically,
but
I'm just talking the reptile aspect of
yeah,
it
for sure,
for sure.
for
Yeah,
sure.
the whole.
And even too, like, even if you have an animal that you rehome, like if even if it is like a cat or dog, like if you rehome it to someone who's is a good home and like personally,
Yeah.
like you've rehomed horses, obviously, like
Oh yeah.
you can go and see those horses or at least get photos or contact the person. Like it's
Yep.
not like it's immoral or like I don't know. Some people are crazy.
As long as it's a good home and you know that it's going to be a good home, I don't have like I don't agree with the people that are like, to the first person that can come get it. Like even when I would sell horses, I can't tell you how many times I was like, no, you know what? No, because I didn't feel good about it. Like there's probably lots of horses. I used to buy, like, I would rescue them, and then I eventually did what my mom was doing. I would sell, and I would never make any money on them, like on
Yeah,
the, I would just basically get what I put in them, barely, but it made me feel good because I always found good homes for them.
yeah.
So
And that's the thing. Like, if you can do like a 50-50 thing, like where you can take in some animals, but you say no to ones that maybe aren't in such a bad position, or
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, and like now I think something I would like to get into, but I know I have the time for is monitors. Like
Mm,
I could just get Savannah monitors, I would be happy. I would love that, but I know that they're a lot of work and they require specific diets, so they don't get, like, main diet is bugs, and then you're getting back into the, oh, I have to get bugs all the time, and I have to make sure that oh, and it's just so much work again. So I'm like, do
no.
I really want to go down that route again?
Yeah.
I have my toad who eats bugs and stuff, but she can also eat some rats out of the freezer.
Okay.
So it's for me to take care of her.
And you still have your iguanas, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, I do. And so there's Mexican spiny tail iguanas, and they're Stenosora pectinata is their scientific name.
Hmm.
And I have three.
Okay.
I have my adult male. He's a blue, is his morph, like his color. And so all three of their main diets are uh, veggies. Like they would eat basically what a bearded dragon would, all the veggies, some fruits and stuff like that. But they also will eat bugs, and very, very, very rarely I'll throw them like a rat pup or something.
Okay. Just like as an occasional snack. Same thing as like a bearded dragon, almost like you say.
Yeah, because
Okay.
like they will in the wild occasionally come across it, and I think it's a nice little bump of protein. Like I have to build a secondary cage for my two younger iguanas because, so Indo is my male, my little baby male, and he's growing like crazy. But Jasper, female, she's definitely not where I would like her to be because Indo has been taking over her food source. So now it's up like,
Mm,
okay, you know what? I have to separate you two. It's no longer working. And the enclosure was so big when they were little that the cohabbing wasn't bad, right? And
yeah.
so, like the cage, like I would actually look for them to find them, and I would feed them on different levels and stuff. But now that they're getting bigger, Indo can like just
Yeah.
destroy his bowl and then go down before Jasper sees halfway and then eat the rest of her. So
Yeah. Well, because I remember you building those cages and everything, and like, uh, yeah, like they're huge, like
Yeah.
insane. Um, so is what's your like long-term plan for those? Are they just pets, or you want to breed them, or?
Breed them, but there's part of me that Jasper banana nada, and I was told that she was a pied. I do believe that Indo is a pied, but I think that Jasper up. So I don't have a pair of pure because unlike the ball python world where you can mix morphs and stuff like that, it's actually frowned upon to do that with the species of iguanas.
Hmm. Are
It,
they like different, like subspecies then of iguana, or?
I think they're all they're all stenosaurus, same species, but I think it has to do with like where they're like so same species, but like uh
Different localities.
yeah, blue will be on this part of wherever, and then pieds will be. I guess it's. I didn't know that. I got into them that you shouldn't breed a blue and a pied. I don't really know why. Maybe it's just a moral thing. Maybe it's
Yeah.
like I honestly don't know. I haven't really had a person to ask, but
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
just know it's not great.
Yeah. I guess I guess you don't know if there's like deformities and stuff then.
Yeah, so I try not.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess well hopefully there's someone that you can find out from,
If I could find another male pie, I would absolutely.
Yeah. Well, cuz like I guess I guess you can't really compare the pied morphin iguana to like a pied ball python cuz it's not really um
Being a pie nada.
well, yeah, cuz I've seen I don't you have an adult one?
I do. He does kind of look pied if you look at him. You know his white marks on his neck.
Yeah.
Okay, so an adult like full pied pectinata, the blue. So blue banana pied. I believe there's a few others, but I can't remember off the top of my head. So Indo, my big guy, he's a blue, but a pied, they're black and white, and they can have like a lot of white, or they can have like a lot of black. Like it's like
It's like high low white pieds.
super random, but like the mid whites, white and black mixture, they look like so pretty.
Hmm.
They're amazing. They're my favorite.
And it's a recessive trait in iguanas then? Like all these are recessive traits?
I believe it's codom.
Okay, interesting. So then what would be like the equivalent of a pied iguana normal?
You know what? I really know. I would. So the genetics kind of confuse me, especially because like so little people to talk to about it.
Yeah.
So from my, I know there's a guy that did. Man, I don't. Maybe it's a super. I don't even know. I don't even know how to explain that. To be completely honest with you, I don't want to say stuff and get people confused.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just asking you. Like these are just random questions. It's interesting.
Right, that's a really good question, though. Because
Yeah.
I know that there's a guy that breeds um pied actinatas out of Quebec. His name is
Okay.
Don Point, I think. And come to think of it, he bred pied to a pied, and I'm sure that all of the babies were pied. So I am wondering now if it is recessive.
Could be recessive, but if you have a super form,
Yeah.
then it's works the same as a recessive.
So I don't know if the parents were I'm just basically
Yeah.
comparing because all of the babies were pieds. And they come out green. They look like a green iguana when they hatch out. Like they're
Mhm.
lime green, and then as they shed, it's almost like a Dalmatian. They eventually get color as they shed, and they get darker, all that.
Well, I remember when they were babies, you posting pictures, and they looked like a normal iguana. It was just
Yeah,
like,
they were tiny. They were like their bodies so cute.
That's insane.
They're feisty.
So,
Fight.
huh?
They fight
Yeah.
now.
Do they? So you've tamed them down then quite a bit, obviously.
I can try. Like so with I find my big guy, he's great. So I find actually it's easier to tame them when they're bigger. Because when they're babies, they're just so flighty and
Yeah.
they're so quick. Like the fastest in the world.
Yeah.
So you just it's kind of whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
You get them calm in my hand, but like to grab them right out of the cage, like immediately they're trying to bite me, they're trying to run. Indo is the worst. He's an a-hole. He's so bad. Like as soon as I put my hands in there, he tries to bite me. He'll actually run to me to bite me.
Jeez.
So, but once I get out that I'm not feeding him and
Right.
threat, then he's cool. He chills out.
So you just have to calm him down a bit. It sounds like, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I guess has your horse training at all like helped with that to be like more?
I think with animal, like I have a tremendous amount of patience with my horses.
Yeah.
And I think that does implement with my iguanas. Like I don't ever get upset with my iguanas even when they're like I think I'll be like, oh you asshole or something like that if he bites me. But as far as getting angry, frustrated, impatient, I don't really I think I yeah, I would say
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a huge part for like any animal training. It's just like the patience factor of it, and just like understanding that they're an animal, and not someone
yeah.
you can talk to. So
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of time and patience. I think uh a horse is easier than a dog to train.
yeah, well,
I think it's because horses are naturally fearful. They have a curiosity to them, but with a horse, I think it's a lot of fun because you have to gain their trust to be able to do anything with them because they don't immediately trust you, whereas a dog will.
yeah,
Puppies, they come out like loving everybody, thing. They're at whereas horses, they come out and they're just like, don't touch me. I might come up and smell you because you're interesting, but I'm not gonna try. That has to develop. You actually have to develop a relationship to even do anything with your horse.
so you would say a horse is easier to train than a dog, or harder than
It is easier because
you develop that relationship?
for me, it's super easy for me to develop a relationship with a horse. Whereas with a dog, I think because they're too into it, that it's like it overstimulates them. And like if you're trying to teach a dog to go outside to the bathroom or something, I have been more successful teaching horses how to do things than a dog to go outside to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
With dogs, it's like repetition. You have to go out with them, every 30 minutes, their babies and stuff like that. But man, it is a lot of work. With a horse, I can just go and hang out with them for an hour, and then the next day, I can just start off right where I left it, and we learn something from the previous day. Whereas a dog is just every day, where you have to continuously implement it. Whereas a horse, they're I think what I'm trying to say is their memory's a little bit better when you're working with them and training them. A dog takes it a little bit longer to get it to stick.
Yeah, we have a like 9-month-old puppy right now.
Yeah.
So everything you're saying is like ringing really true to me, and I'm like,
Yeah, it's really rewarding with dogs, and dogs are really intelligent. I just think horses. Maybe it's just because I just enjoy horses so much, and maybe it would be different for someone who's well versed in training dogs. Maybe they would have a hard time training horses. But for me,
well, I think what you said about like you developing a relationship, that would make sense to me that they would want to work for you more and want to learn more. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Almost. Whereas a dog is just like it's submissive no matter what to anyone, so it will try and do a trick, but it doesn't know how to do it, and it doesn't want to, learn.
I think also for me, a dog, like when they go to the bathroom in the house, for an example, it's frustrating because then you now have to clean up the mess, right? So you're automatically like, oh, now I have this thing that I wasn't planning on doing that I have to do, or step in it or something, awful. But like a horse, you don't really have that frustration, right? Like when they make a mess, it's outside. And I think for me, like when I've trained dogs, I think that's where my frustration comes into play. I'm like, oh, now I have poop to clean up. Like for
But with a horse, it's like they could poop on your driveway, and it's like 20 pounds of poop.
it would bug me. It would.
See, that would
It's,
bug a lot of people, I think, compared to a dog.
yeah.
But see, that I think that's why everybody just like it's like everybody's different,
Yep.
and
I think
you
it
have
just
the animals you like too.
so
So
much, and it just.
yeah,
I think that it just comes. It's natural for me. Like I can go in, and not every single horse. I mean, every horse is different, but I could probably go in and work with a horse and improve it within an hour. Whereas I don't know how far I'm gonna get in an hour with a dog.
yeah,
Like me personally, maybe someone out there can like do wonders in an hour with a dog. Me, I love dogs to death. Am I a dog trainer? Not great.
yeah, literally. Yeah, I know. Like even with our dog, like she's not completely potty trained yet and stuff, and like it just gets so frustrating.
It for sure.
And I don't like you say, horses are a little bit smarter, and like they at least have a little bit more understanding, and
Yeah,
they're not just sitting there like, what did I do wrong?
versus where you what you want to do.
Yeah,
It's once you horses they're not scared of what you're gonna do with them. I think you got it in the bag at that point, and it's just because if a horse spooks, like everyone always makes the infamous, oh, horses are afraid of like puddles and plastic bags and stuff. Once you get your horse to the point where they're not afraid to, walk past a plastic bag, it's pretty simple past then. They'll let you do anything, they'll let you throw a saddle up there. They're not afraid of the saddle anymore. The hard part is getting them to understand that this isn't going to hurt you, right? Because if a horse is being like, they're naturally, they have predators.
right.
Where would a predator attack them in the wild, like a mountain lion? Probably their back,
Yeah,
right? So, like, naturally instinctive
yeah.
on anything back.
Well, even like because they can't really like what degree of vision do they have? Like they can't see any of their back at all. I don't think,
Oh,
right?
and horse pretty much all the way around the points of their face that they only points that they cannot see is directly in front of their face because their eyes are to the side and right behind, which is why they say don't look behind the horse. They can see completely around them.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Hmm.
Yeah, horses like I'm on their back. I can see them turn their head to look up at me back.
Wow, that's really cool. Wow.
But some horses are, yeah, like so. My horse, Hidalgo, she's the quietest horse with. She immediately was not really afraid of anything. I think it only took me an hour to throw a saddle up on her back. It's just easy. And then there's some horses you have to work with them in that saddle for months because
Yeah.
you have to get that bond. It's get that trust that I'm not going to hurt you, and that's what you're developing the whole time.
And is it like if like obviously if you train a horse to a certain degree, then it will be fine. But um, like how long would it take before you could give that horse to someone else and feel confident they could
Yeah.
ride?
So usually like if I took a horse on training, I start with 30 days training to get them saddle broke if unbroke. So that just means, to be able to sit up in the saddle and make them walk with you on their back. That is like the 30 days. Now every horse is different. Sometimes it takes me 60 days,
Right.
90. Like it depends on the horse. I think what I meant with dogs and horses is horses have uh, they'll pay attention to you longer, whereas a dog it's really them focused on you,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that you have a dog to do. Whereas a horse is already automatically focused on you because they're watching you the whole time, wondering what you're gonna do. Because so dogs, they don't really have that. Like they're not nervous around you, right? Like they're not watching for what you're doing, so it's hard to get their attention.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Whereas a horse focus is always on you because they want to know what you're.
So with training a horse, then do you use treats and stuff?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
okay,
thing and stuff. But I like lots of petting and talking. Like
right.
horses are very intuitive, and so
But it's not as much as a dog would be, who like the main reward for training is food.
yeah,
Because
I
like with our dog, she after like half an hour, like she just gets bored of food, right?
yeah
So
I think like if I'm training to go in a trailer, I think food would be a great benefit because that would lead them onto the trailer and realize, oh,
right.
trailer good things. But if I'm training like for a saddle, I don't really implement treats. So I just would pet them and be like, it's okay, you know, and use positive reinforcement with like a saddle. It depends on the situation I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah. No, I can see that now. I see what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
that totally makes sense. All right. Okay. Well, we're obviously over an hour now. I don't know if you can see the timer. Um, so yeah, obviously I'm gonna let you go here soon because you probably want to wrap it up. But one of the last questions I have that I'm gonna ask all future guests is that do you have any ghost stories you want to tell? And I know that you definitely have some ghost stories, so fire away and tell me.
All right. So when I was younger, my mom was for a farmhouse, and I was probably like 6 years old or something like that, and we were driving by the Chatham area. Actually, we were driving by a place called Thamesville, which is only about 20 minutes from here or so. And there was this place, and I noticed that there was a sign, and it said for sale, and I was like, whatever. And I pointed to it at my mom, and we were driving by. Hey, look at that place. My mom ended up buying it because I had pointed it out, and I don't even know why. I like I was feel like I was asleep, and I just like awoke, and I was like, Mom, the farmhouse right there is for sale. It was like a weird thing to begin with. And then so we ended up moving in. We had horses there, and our horses always got let out of this house because our paddock was like maybe 20 feet from where our door was. And this gate was like physically locked on it because my mom thought like teenagers or something were coming and letting our horses out every night. And even though it was locked, the horses would be out with the gate wide open again. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like I'm the only one that has the key, and it was like a heavy padlock.
So it was like a padlock. It was like a lock with a padlock on it that was click locked.
Yes, and it would be wide open, gate open. It wasn't damaged. The gate wasn't cut. Nothing was cut. It was perfectly fine and usable order. The gate would just be open, and the horses would be uh, maybe a couple acres over where this silo had stood,
Mm.
and like a gravel pit at the time. And it was just bizarre. Every like you would think that horses would go to where grass is, but they would go and just chill at this gravel pit and just stand there instead of eating their morning hay and stuff. So it was just bizarre. And so eventually we found out that the house that we lived in wasn't the original house. So on that property, there was a house and another barn over that way where the silo was. It got burned down because the man had fell asleep with like a cigarette or a pipe, and his family was upstairs, and they ended up all perishing in the fire. And um, so they built the house right next to it as a replica house.
So the house was an exact replica of the original house.
Much like
Okay.
they used the same blueprint. Like we looked this all up at the local library. Like, it was crazy.
Okay.
And so they had used the same blueprints because the house wasn't very old.
Right.
That when it had burnt down, they rebuilt another one on the property or whatever, however they did it. Um, and so basically, it was a couple acres over. So where the horses would go is where the original house burnt down.
Right. So the
So
gravel pit was the where the old house was then.
yeah, so it was just really bizarre that they would always go there and not go to somewhere where they could eat grass and stuff. And then like other weird, like one day I was at my dad's for the weekend, and my mom was sitting there alone, and a phone book went flying, and it was like one of the really thick old phone books that just
Just
in.
flying.
And we would always have dreams in the house. It was like one day we had three dogs. We had a golden retriever puppy, and she was maybe 12 weeks old, but she was puppy. And we had a Shih Tzu who was only like 3 years old, and he was hyper little shithead. And he would like, if you would open the door, he would take off and run. And then we had a little schnauzer slash poodle thing, and he was like afraid of his own shadow. Like he would not go anywhere. Like you had to pick him up to take him outside to go pee at night because he was just no way was he going outside in the dark. No way. So one night I had been playing in the laundry room with the dogs, and our dog bed was in between the washer and dryer. It was kind of like a cubby where the dog bed was. And
Okay.
playing with Finnegan, which was the schnauzer, the scared dog, and he had come up and had bit right beside my face, like he had snapped right beside my face. And what was weird was is he was never like that, and I wasn't playing rough with him. It was bizarre, and I had felt a presence like right beside me. So what my mom and I think happened, and this is just theory, just
Yeah.
um, we feel like he was here and the dog could see him, and the dog tried to nip because the dog didn't actually physically bite me. He like bit beside me. And then that night I went to bed and I woke up. God, it was probably like 6 a.m. or something like that, and I had a really bad dream. And I went to wake my mom up. And keep in mind, I'm only 6 years old, right? And I say to her, like, we only have two dogs. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, she's just waking up. She's like, this kid's crazy. Like, we only have two dogs. I'm like, Finnegan. And she's like freaking out because she's like,
So wait 1 second. Finnegan is the dog who
was afraid.
almost bit you.
Yeah,
Did bite you.
the one like you literally had to pick him up to go outside. Like he
And
would,
that was the night before, right? That he bit you.
it was the night of, so it was like,
Jeez.
before I went to bed. So it was like seven
Okay.
o'clock at night that
Right.
this happened, and then I went to bed. I had a dream, and
Yeah.
the dream was that the ghost that I had been seeing, because I seen him a lot in my dreams at this point. Um, he had picked up Finnegan, and he had took to the gravel pit on like right beside it on the road, and he was in a. It's such a weird dream. He was in a car over Finnegan.
Yeah.
This was a dream,
Yeah,
and
because I remember you telling me this.
yeah, and when we woke up, I woke up my mom, and our front door was swinging wide open where our laundry room was, because that's where we kept the dogs at night. And our 12-week-old puppy and the dog that constantly ran away were laying right in front of the door. They didn't leave. And Finnegan, the dog who you literally had to pick up to take outside, was dead over by the gravel pit where I saw it in my dream. This
So
legitimately happened. I fabricated
like I
whatsoever.
know. Just but like hearing it from someone that you know personally, like a story like this is just like you see like ghost
Yeah,
hunters or whatever, and
it,
it's like
it, and like after that point, my mom started having dreams of like 6-year-old me in a white nightgown, and we had like fields behind our house, and this spirit would be holding my hand, taking me to the like across the field, and my mom would be running as fast as she could, and she couldn't ever catch up to trying to get me. And she'd dream of this every night, same dream.
It's
And
insane.
we had talked to a medium about it, and she said that is him telling you that he wants to take me to the light because he needs an innocent soul to get him through the light. And the creek, light, and me heading there with him, him holding my hand, him showing what's going to happen.
Hmm.
But my mom, the medium, had said, you need to sleep with your daughter every night. You need to stay in the same bed because you're too strong for the spirit to break through.
Hmm.
So that's why the spirit kept harassing me when I was alone because he would just
He
click
knew.
on me.
Hmm.
I wasn't strong enough. That's just what the medium had said. All of that, we didn't believe in spirits until all of this had happened. It was
Well,
just
like, yeah, that's the same. Like, nothing like that has ever happened to me, but there's been some, like, like knocking and stuff like that, like lights flickering. But I think the dog thing is insane because that, like, the whatever spirit or whatever literally killed the dog in retaliation for trying to bite him or
that
whatever.
was so like, it would have been more like easier to explain had it been one of the other two dogs that got, because it would have been like, oh, one of us left the door open and they ran because they were both really young dogs, and they would constantly run outside. Like, they weren't trained to stay inside, but they were both laying by the door and did not leave the house even though it was wide open.
Yeah.
One dog you had to pick up to take outside of the house. Why was he the one that was like 2 acres away on the road dead?
Well,
Like,
and didn't you tell me too that there was like tire marks in the gravel pit too?
yeah, yeah, oh yeah, like that's what was so insane. And like, it sounds so weird to say, like, how did a ghost get a car? Like, maybe he killed him some other way, or like, I don't even know what exactly happened. This was in a dream that I seen it, and then in the morning he was legitimately dead where I had dreamed he was.
Well, I thought you said, like, I remember you telling me before. I think that in your dream you saw him run the dog over, right?
I did see, that's exactly how he died in my dream.
Yeah.
So it was it
So he might like that's just like you
that
don't know.
got his dream. He definitely looked like he was hit. Like, it didn't look like he was dead any other way. Like, it was so bizarre because that dog of all dogs would not have left the house.
Yeah.
And why would I dream about it? And before I even checked on the dogs as a 6-year-old, I woke up my mom before I even checked the dogs. Like, it wasn't like I went and looked at the dogs and saw there was two and told her, "Oh, we only have two dogs." No, I went straight to my bedroom to her, told her that there was no dogs, and then we both went into the laundry room, confirmed that there were two dogs.
What time was that? Like, I guess you don't really know the exact like. Oh, it was 6 a.m.
It,
But
it was because I remember
it
I
wasn't the middle of the night though, at like 2 a.m. or something.
no, it well, I woke up and it was probably like, I would say 6 or 7, because I had to get ready for school shortly after because we didn't immediately find the dog. So what had happened was my mom was going to bring me to school and then go looking for the dog because she thought maybe she had left the door open and by some fluke the dog did go outside. But
Well, then you found
she
it there late. Like you would have never looked like thought to
yeah,
look.
is because we had pulled out of the driveway and she was taking me this way.
Hmm.
We saw circling and we're like, oh, and we just had a gut wrenching feeling. It was Finnegan, so she went that way. And I said, "Mom, this is exactly my dream. Like, we found Finnegan exactly where I dreamed." She didn't want to find Finnegan dead with me, so she wanted to bring
Yeah.
me to. Just gonna go
Well,
look.
and she didn't want the dream. She probably didn't want the dream to be like real either. Like she was probably
Yeah,
freaking the fuck out too. Like,
yeah.
what are you gonna do as a parent? Like when your
There
kid
was
tells you that.
like my mom's friends would sleep over, and they would wake up getting choked and crying, and there was like, if you would not anymore because I still drive by the house sometimes, but it used to be really dark. It was weird. It was almost like over the property. It was like always like a cloud. Like, it was always just dark. It wasn't.
Gloomy.
It was gloomy. It was always gloomy, unhappy. You never had a good feeling even walking in the house. Like, and he would always be watching us when we physically had saw him a few times outside a window, and that window strangely never. It would never open, but we would always see him at us when we were sitting on TV. We actually had to shut the office door because he would just stare at us while we're watching TV.
So creepy.
It was so creepy, and I remember very well exactly what he looked like. He was a semi, I guess probably like 50 years old, I would say, and he had kind of skater boy white hair, and he had two red eyes. So I remember every dream I had about him, he had red eyes, mean
Like
eyes,
an albino.
kind of. Yeah,
It's insane. That's so creepy.
he was very creepy,
And
and
then, like, when you went to move out of that place or whatever, was there anything that happened or like any negative?
so the person who was living with us, he so he didn't follow my mom and I, but the person who we were living with, he said that he had followed her. And when I went to go spend the night there to visit her, because she was a close family friend that was living with us, I had seen him that day. And um, I've only seen him twice after we moved. It was one time at her place, and then when I was living at my boyfriend's parents, I was fine. I was laying in bed. My boyfriend went to the bathroom to like shower or something, and I saw him in my boyfriend's closet, and he said, "I will get you," is what he said. And I was probably 17. I had the bearded dragons at that time, probably like 17. And
And those places where you saw him, did they have any relation to the house at all, or were
not
they?
at all. So I don't know what that was, but have not seen him since. And it has been freaky because my daughter had said, I don't know if this is true. Um, she could be just a kid talking, but at my other apartment, she had told me that she was talking to a man, and that freaked me out. And I called my mom, and I was like, "She said she's talking to a man,"
Yeah.
and I was
Your
like,
mom's like, he's back. See, but this is literally like, like it, right? Like for you, it would be the equivalent. Like,
"Yeah."
I
I was
mean,
like dealing with my mom. I'm like, she said she's talking to a man, whether or not it was the same man, but that was my immediate thought. I said, "Oh no, now he's after my daughter," and I was like,
yeah,
but like I honestly, I've only seen him twice since I moved. The one time it was when I visited my friend because she believed that he followed her out of the house because we had cleansed the house and he got mad when we cleansed the house because we had, and the medium was like asking, I just again 6-year old me, they're like, can you feel him? Because I was the only one that could like feel his presence, and like I don't know, it was just so strong. Like I can't even explain how strong of a feeling it was when he was around. I could literally tell you exactly where he
like
was. That was
scary, or like you were scared of him, or like what kind of feeling? Like
very afraid. Like, if you ever got bad news that made you like just gut wrench,
a really bad what?
like news, like
Oh yeah, 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 for sure, for sure.
get that feeling,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'd feel it fine. I like it would just you tense up, you'd be nervous, you'd be
Like panic attack, kind of almost.
yeah.
Yeah,
So they had asked me, where do you see him, or do you see him right now? They were trying to cleanse the house
yeah,
around. We were outside, and we had a silo that was probably about, I don't know, probably 30 feet long, and they had doors that were 10 feet high. They were massive doors on each side of the silo. And I said, he's over there. And I pointed to the silo. And one door had opened, and like 5 seconds later, the other door slammed shut. So it ran through it, angrily opening one door and then shutting the other. It was insane. There was like 3 or 4 people there that had saw that and witnessed that. It was intense when we were cleansing that.
so that was all when you were like doing a cleanse on the house before you left?
Yeah. So Dark lived with us, said cleanse, because we all moved after that.
Right.
Feels the spirit left with her because he was no longer welcome at that house. So he had nowhere to go. He was too strong of a spirit to send to the light, is what the medium had said.
So he attached himself to. Did he? So are you still friends with that person then?
She doesn't have Facebook or anything like that, but she used to email my mom every now and again. I had her house. I was 12 because she had horse, so I went to
Mm,
out with her and her that night, looking at us in the bedroom,
right.
and so I had saw I was 7 house said that to me in the closet. My boyfriend didn't believe, but I was like a sobbing mess. I was crying. I'm like, I was fine a minute ago. How do you explain me being completely fine, getting out of the like crying, being inconsolable? I wasn't.
Yeah.
It was just so intense, and I was like, I thought he was gonna haunt me again, but he never came back after that.
That's just like insane. Like that's just like the only way to explain it is insane. Like
I don't have any. And I mean, a lot of people don't believe me, and that's fine. This is just literally what I've experienced.
yeah.
Like, it's crazy. There's people that wouldn't even spend the night there because they would get choked. Anyone who wasn't my mom, Darlene, and I, they, like, if someone spent the night on the couch, they would feel like someone was choking them. Several people have said this that's over.
Well, and it's like it's just so insane. Like it's just insane. Is the only way to explain it. And like
Yeah.
I don't know if you've watched Brian Barczyk,
Yeah.
his ghost stuff,
Yeah,
but
that's
like he said, like he at his old friend's house or whatever, like stuff would go flying around in the attic and stuff, and like
that's crazy.
you like just explaining that to someone, it's like okay, whatever, like that's not true, but like what what do people have to gain? Like what do you have to gain from like
Yeah,
if
like
you were
I
to make all this up? You know, like it's
it's just insane. Like everyone experiences seem to be just like, hearing noise and stuff, but I was freaking sinister. Like it mean. It was, I could easily say, he banged around the kitchen. He didn't really do that too much. It was just he would watch us. He was just evil, and I think the only time that things would go like he would go flying if I didn't come home from my dad's. When I would go to my dad's, my mom said that it seemed like he was really angry that I wasn't there because he was really attached to me.
so you think his ultimate plan was like to kill you or something, and then like
I don't.
some sort of
So medium had said, and this, like, again, I was only 6 years old when this happened,
yeah.
so going by what the medium had said and what I remember now, um, she had said that he actually doesn't intend to harm me, which is why he wanted to kill the dog because he wanted to get in between anyone that was getting in between me. So, like my mom, he didn't like my mom. The spirit would constantly be bugging my mom. With me, he just wanted to be around me because I was the light and the guy was craving the light. He wanted to go to the light with his family, but he was a mean-spirited soul, so apparently he couldn't break through. So he needed an innocent child, me, to so I don't know if he would have had me. I don't even know if spirits can do that. I
Yeah.
killed the dog, so who I don't know.
Yeah, like that's the thing. There's so many things like, and even like the medium, like how does she know like what
Yeah.
kind of spirit it actually is, and like there's just so many unknowns. Like
Yeah, it was just a crazy thing. Like I don't know what his intent with me is, but she had said that he didn't want to harm me. He wants my light, is what she said. He doesn't want to like kill me just because he hates children. He actually wanted to be around me.
hmm, yeah, it's weird.
I
I
don't know
don't
if
know.
it's power, or I don't even know if power is the right word, but
Yeah.
I didn't know how to explain it. It was just really intense, and he didn't like it when I was not there. He wanted me to be home.
So when just like if your mom was just there, would anything happen? Like would
Tons of
oh,
stuff.
okay.
Phone book went flying. He would like watch her from the window. She would have to shut the door. She would hear like the horse fences would rattle, like the gates and stuff. Like he was there intentionally bugging her. Like he
Yeah.
was intentionally trying to get in a very stupid way. Like he was trying to be.
And like when you were there with your mom and stuff, it was better, or at
It,
least somewhat better. Yeah.
it was it was just it was comfortable, like because you could see him, like even if you could see him, you could feel him. And
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to sleep in my bedroom for the last 6 months that we lived there because it was just too intense. My sleeping alone, um, just because I would constantly be bugged. I would feel someone sitting on my bed while I'm sleeping and stuff, and it just nope. so
There's
I,
probably just like endless amounts of stuff that you're just like, oh,
oh
then
my,
this, then
there's
this.
so much, and
Yeah.
I've lived at many houses, and this is the only house that I've had serious paranormal experiences.
Interesting.
Other than like the one time, like, but it was the same guy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. From what you know. Yeah. Yeah. From what you know.
I never experienced anything bad at my boyfriend's house other than that one specific time. Like there was no other creepy paranormal experiences there. There was no paranormal experiences at my other house. There's no like so it's not like I'm just constantly like always having paranormal
No,
experience.
it's not like you are possessed or something and you're the
No,
one causing it
that
all.
house was just insane, and
Yeah.
it kept going up for sale multiple times.
Hmm. Oh, yeah, and I was gonna ask you that too. This is the last thing I'll ask because I know you probably want to go, but did like because I think you told me that you've driven past there, obviously sometimes, and you get like angsty feelings or whatever.
Ooh, I do. I feel so. The one time we were driving by it, we were coming from Strathroy to visit someone or something like that, and we had to drive by the house. And I was fast asleep, and I woke up, and the first thing I saw was the house. I was like, how bizarre is that I'm having a nap in the car in the passenger seat, and then the moment I wake up, it's because like we're right at the house.
Wow.
So I was like dead asleep, and then I wake up and I'm like, oh, how's it going? And then I look over and there's the house that we're passing.
Yeah.
Fluke, very well could
I
have
don't
been,
think so.
but weird. And I just, whenever I see it, and it could be just internal feelings and memories, my own self, but I just feel uncomfortable when I drive by the house.
Have you ever tried to like contact the owners or like renters or like would you even want to go back or would you?
Um, that house is such a dump. It used to be a beautiful house. I will say it
Right.
was when we lived there.
Right.
Grass was always cut. It was beautiful. The barn was well maintained. Like it was nice. And now it's just junk everywhere. The barns are falling apart. Like they don't take care of the property. I just think they're hoarders.
But
And
there is people living there though, yeah?
yeah, there is people living there, and they've lived there for a while now. So I don't give a crap or
Yeah. Well, they
what.
must own the place because if they're just dumping it, then.
Yeah, they definitely own a place, but it's like it looks like garbage out there. Like
If
also,
you ever had the chance to go back in the house, though, like junk aside and stuff, I get that, but would you ever go in there?
no, I don't think I could. I don't think I could bring myself to do
Interesting.
it. Even if it was person living there, like if the house still looked good from the outside, I don't think that I'd want to open that can of worms with a fear of, as far as
Letting him back in.
spirits feed on fear.
Yeah,
So I feel like it would be a very, very bad idea if I went there.
yeah,
And I wouldn't want to bring anything home with me.
definitely. No, I definitely feel you on that. I totally get that.
Yeah,
So,
I
all
think I
right.
have to go.
Yeah. Well, like it's just like, cause I don't know, maybe probably over a year ago now, you told me about the ghost stuff, and that was before any of the stuff in our apartment really happened.
Yeah.
And so I was like, wow, this is from like a reputable person that I know that is like. So it just blew me away when you told
I
me
wish
that.
it didn't happen. Still, like it gives. I have good. Like I
I know.
talking about it. It's crazy because I can still remember it so clearly. Like it's just something that never faded, and I feel like it's a lie. I at details and stuff. You know,
Yeah.
and so many people had experienced it at the house. It wasn't just my mom and I. It was several people that had. been like slept over at the house. There was people that didn't even want to sleep over there anymore because they had experienced too much and so intense, so
Yeah.
evil, like malice. Like the guy was nice.
Yeah. And like, did you ever? Because you said you found out at the, or you went to the public records or whatever from the library. Did you ever find out who the guy was or anything?
We didn't know anything. We just found out. Um, I can't detail that I can't, and I think it makes more sense. So I believe so he had like kids, and the man was abusive apparently.
Mm,
So he had fallen asleep in the living room with a pipe or a cigarette, and the house and
right.
family upstairs perished.
Right.
The part that I can't remember is if he had died away in the fire.
I see.
So I think it makes sense to just think logically that he was the one that built the rest of his family's house. So he had rebuilt his own house. Now, I
Oh.
can't remember, either can my mom, he had perished in fire or what. I assume so. Like talks about, he tried to get out through the one window, and that's why the one in the new house wouldn't open, and like, so I don't
There's
know.
so much. Yeah. There's so many things that you could be like, oh, it's this. It's this.
Yeah, and like I never wanted to, like, I guess assume. So I don't know whether or not, I know that he died, and he died in a bad way. That's what Spirit had told, that he
I
didn't
see.
have.
Hmm.
So maybe he committed suicide after his family had died. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. You'd have to do more research, obviously, but I
Yeah.
don't think you want to do that.
No, I don't want to know anything about him.
Yeah, you're done with that. Put it behind you. You have a story now.
Yeah, I do.
All right. All right. Well, I know we went way longer than we were planning,
All
but
right.
hopefully that's okay. But I appreciate you coming on, and yeah, maybe we can have you back sometime. And
I'm crazy. My story.
yeah, and yeah, I gotta talk to you after this stream because I gotta get my snake shipped soon.
Yeah, yeah. Forget. Yeah. Probably sometimes I have to contact Mars to
Yeah, yeah,
do.
yeah, for sure. So, all right. Well, yeah, I'm sure I'll talk to you soon. And
Thank you for
thanks
having
so much. No problem. All right. Yeah, if you just, I think you, or yeah, I'll kick you off and then I'll,
me.
you
Bye.
can finish anything. Okay, bye. See ya. All right, everybody. So thank you guys for watching the stream. Next week we are going to be live streaming either at 5 or 5:30 with Daffy's Reptiles. I'm super excited to have him on. He is one of my close friends, and yeah, and thank you so much, Mereyehia, for coming on. That was super fun, and yeah, hopefully we can do it again sometime. Thanks, everybody, and have a good night.